Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Balabha Girivara Dhari. Gopijana Balabha Girivara Dhari. Jasodhanandana Brajajanarandana. Jasodhanandana Brajajanarandana. Jamunatira Vanachadi. Jamuna Tira Vanachadi. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Balabha Girivara Dhari. Gopijana Balabha Girivara Dhari. Gopijana Balabha Girivara Dhari. Girivara Dhari. Jasodhanandana Brajajanarandana. Jasodhanandana Brajajanarandana. Jamunatira Vanachadi. Jamunatira Vanachadi. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayo Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivinagacharya Astatarasatasi Srimad His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavarinda Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gaur Premanandi. Canto 10, Chapter 8. Canto 10, Chapter 8. You have your own Bhagavatam set right here. Canto 10, Chapter 8. So what's Canto 10, Chapter 8 about? You forgot. I'll remind you. In the childhood pastimes of Krishna, there's a sequence. We've been hearing this. Of course, the birth of Krishna. What's up? Everything's okay?
I was just telling her, when Krishna opens his mouth, you can see the entire universe.
Okay, but you're ahead of us. He's his birth pastime, killing a Putana, Shakatasura, the cart demon, Mother Jasoda feeding Krishna and seeing the universe within his mouth, and then the name-giving ceremony, Namakarana, because the name-giving ceremony in Vedic culture is performed within the first 45 days after birth, so name-giving ceremony, and that's chapter 8. There's very important verses in this chapter, 8 verses in this chapter 8, where Garga Muni is explaining who Krishna is to Nanda Maharaj, after which Nanda returns to Braja, and he has a big festival with other brahmanas because that was a private name-giving ceremony. In Mathura, they didn't want to alert Kamsa about anything. So then the childhood pastimes of Krishna begins. There's 8 verses where the childhood pastimes of Krishna are described. And his crawling, his little teeth coming, his pulling on the tail of calves, and the calves are startled and they start to run, and Krishna holds on, and Balaram holds on, they go for a ride, and all the ladies are either very fearful for their safety or laughing and clapping, and then childhood pastimes. And then we ended yesterday with text number 6, so we're going to cover 7 and 8 from chapter 8. Chapter 6, he's still in childhood, he's still a baby, he's just finished crawling, and already he's walking. He's a little baby, and that's child development excelled. He's a precocious little boy, and Balaram too. And so there was, with that message, there was this really lengthy commentary about the sequence of events in Krishna's childhood. Very lengthy commentary. Going way over to chapter where Krishna returns from Vrindavan to Mathura, and there's reunited with Vasudeva and Devaki, and Krishna and Balaram are speaking to Vasudeva, saying, because of our great misfortune, you were not able to take part in our childhood, boyhood, and youth activities. So then there was this lengthy discussion of what happened at what age. And the conclusion is that Krishna left Vrindavan when he was 11, and plus some months. And he was still in his Kaishore age. Anyway, so he was only 11 when he KO'd Kamsa and Chanur and Mushtaka and everything, because the ladies said, oh, it's unfair, he's just still a little Kaishore, look, a little 11-year-old boy fighting these big wrestlers, it's a mismatch. The ladies were speaking like that. And then we heard that in the 3rd canto, chapter 2, Uddhava says to Vidura that Krishna, like covered flame, was remaining in Vrindavan for 11 years. So it was still 11 years when and then we heard the conclusion was, although he aged more than that in terms of years, but his appearance was like that of Poganda. Poganda is like before you're 15. Because when in Dwaraka, chapter 65, when Pradyumna comes into the inner chamber of Krishna, one of Krishna's palaces, Rukmini's palace, he looked so much like Krishna, not just his color and attire, but even his physical appearance was a Poganda age, because that's what he was, Pradyumna. And they thought he was Krishna, meaning, although Krishna, we often hear, when Krishna was on the Kurukshetra battlefield, how many years old was he? 125. But he looked like a teenager, because he looked like a teenager. Navyovana, 125-year-old teenager. Not so likely. But also the transformations of his body were only to fulfill the desire of his devotees. And that's the message we've been hearing over and over again from Canto 10. Krishna's disposition is prema. He reciprocates the prema of his devotees according to the prema of his devotees. So this section is a lot about parental affection, Vatsalya Rasa. And we're going to hear two verses that emphasize the continuation of his childhood pastimes in Braja. Actually, he's in Gokul. So now I just have to get to that place. Hang on a moment. It's over here. No, that's not where it is. Chapter 8. Huh? Yeah, 26, correct. So, but I have to find where, because I closed my computer because it wouldn't, I don't know where I put the file. I have to remember where I put the file. Hang on a moment, everybody. Where did I put that file? Okay, I finished 26, that's right. Okay, here's 27. Okay, here we go. Okay. Thereafter, Lord Krishna, along with Balarama, began to play with the other children of the cowherd men, thus awakening the transcendental bliss of the cowherd women. So 10.8.27. 10.8.27. So 26 was this, he started walking. Now he's walking with Balaram because they're of the same age. And now, rather than just crawling and interacting with the ladies and the cowherd men, they're now playing with the children. Commentary reads, the word Saha Ramaha means along with Balaram. It's significant in this verse, and in such transcendental pastimes, Krishna is the chief hero and Balaram provides additional help. And the commentary of Vishwanath reads, in the pastimes of stealing butter, Krishna was the predominant figure, so in this verse he is described as Saharama along with Balaram. And then Jiva Goswami writes, having generally described the pastimes of the two, Balaram Krishna, to indicate the similarity of Balaram in relation to Krishna's pastimes, Shukadev describes Krishna's predominance in the pastimes attractive to all of Vraja. The word tu, too, indicates a change of topic. So he's walking, now he's with the other boys. Krishna is the main figure since he is naturally Swayam Bhagavan, and he is accompanied by Balaram because of pastimes. Bhagavan means he desired to reveal his sweetness as Swayam Bhagavan. Krishna means, that's Bhagavan means, he desired to reveal himself as the source of sweetness. Krishna means that he desired to attract all people with his sweetness, and that he attracted even Balaram. By assisting the greatest enjoyer, Ramana, Balaram fulfilled the meaning of his name as one who enjoys. Krishna chose boys of the same age who were of similar nature, qualities, family, and activities. They were thus close friends because they belonged to Braja, famous as not different from Krishna. And further commentary reads, the wise say that the truth is beyond, okay, this is discussion, this is a 5th canto commentary. 5th canto, Jad Bharat conversing with Maharaj Rahugana. You with me? Jad Bharat? Bharat Maharaj became a deer, became Jad Bharat. That Jad Bharat. And the king that he's delivering transcendental knowledge to is King Rahugana. So Jad Bharat is saying to King Rahugana, the wise say that the truth is beyond the gunas. The truth contains everything, including liberation. The truth is one without a second, is all-pervading, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, and is Vasudeva, which is the name of Krishna. Commentary. This is Jiva Goswami's commentary. Then what is truth? The previously mentioned truth, or tattva, is said to be that which is known by authority of the scriptures. This has been mentioned in the 1st canto. Tattvam Vedanti Tattva Vidas Tattvam Yad Jnanam Advayam. Knowledge is truth which is beyond the gunas, Vishuddham. It is supreme, from which arises liberation. It's without a second, ekam. It is devoid of both internal and external That means it pervades everywhere. This knowledge is also Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Brahman means the impersonal aspect, worshipped by the Jnanis. It is called Paramatma, worshipped by the yogis. Prashantam, adjective describing Paramatma, means that in which the jiva is controlled. Bhagavan is the aspect worshipped by the devotees. The devotees say that these three forms are included within Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva, who is the most complete form. He's described in the Vedas in many ways. Here's some of the many ways. Purnam Brahma Sanatanam, Bhagavatam 10:24. Krishnaya Paramatmane, 10:6:36. Tatastu Bhagavan Krishnaha, that's this verse, 10:8:27 that we just read. In the Gita, he calls himself the basis of Brahman. Who knows that verse? Chapter 14. Brahmano hi pratishtaham, 14:27. He also describes himself as Paramatma. Vistabhyaham idam Krishnam ekanksenastato jagat. Bhagavad Gita 10:42. The opulences of the Absolute. What's the use of describing all these opulences? For by a fragment of myself I pervade and support the whole universe. 14:27. The end of, 10:42. The end of that opulences of the Absolute chapter. He also says, Vasudevo Bhagavatam. Among the forms of Bhagavan, I am Vasudeva. That's Krishna in the Uddhava Gita. So all this is to say Krishna is all those things. The absolute truth is all those things. Truth is all those things. The word Bhaga in Bhagavan means Aishvarya or lordship, right? He's the possessor of bhagas or opulences, Bhagavan. This also implies those who are controlled by the Lord. Since the jivas in Maya are in illusion, as previously described, or those controlled by the Lord, that's the Paramatma feature, means the devotees in the Lord's abode, Braja. They are eternal. The devotees and the abode of the Lord are both eternal truth, like the Lord. They are like the Lord, they are proved by the statements of Scripture. It goes further, scriptural statements, mainly from the Uddhava Gita. Uddhava Gita section of the Vedas, you're familiar? Uddhava Gita? No. Oh, sorry. Like there's Bhagavad Gita, everyone knows. So there's Uddhava Gita. Uddhava Gita is Krishna speaking transcendental knowledge to Uddhava. And there's like 15 chapters in Canto 11 where Krishna is speaking to Uddhava. It's really elevated, kind of like undergraduate and graduate study. Bhagavad Gita is undergraduate study, and the Uddhava Gita is graduate study. Very, very involved. It's the same points discussed on a higher, more intricate level. Uddhava Gita. So it's, in the early parts of the 11th canto, toward the end of the 11th canto. It's a big section. So Krishna's giving, definitive statements about things. So they're often quoted. Here's two of them. Krishna is saying to Uddhava, faith in my devotional service is purely transcendental. Here's another. Residence in a place where I reside is transcendental, and so forth. Anything related to bhakti is said to be eternal truth as well. So the topic, going back to Jud Bharat speaking to Rahugana, what's truth? And truth is that which is in the scripture, and truth is that which is eternal, and truth is that which is in relation to the Supreme Lord. So all that is within relation to the Supreme Lord is truth. So even now back to the childhood pastimes of Krishna, he is the absolute truth playing with other boys in Braja. And that's a truth. Okay, so text 28. Observing the very attractive, childish restlessness of Krishna, all the gopis, that's the elder gopis, in the neighborhood, to hear about Krishna's activities again and again, would approach Mother Yashoda and speak to her as follows. So Krishna is now roaming around Braja, and he's doing mischief, and the gopis are noting it, and they go to explain as if they're complaining, but they're not complaining, they're just enjoying the delightfulness of Krishna's naughtiness. Restlessness, they call it. Krishna's activities are always very attractive to devotees. Therefore, the neighbors, who were friends of Mother Yashoda, informed Mother Yashoda of whatever they saw Krishna doing in the neighborhood. Little boy. Mother Yashoda, just to hear about the activities of her son, stopped her household duties and enjoyed the information given by the neighboring friends. Vishwanath writes, seeing the naughty pastimes which gave pleasure, Ruchiram, the gopis thought, Mother Jasoda has not received such happiness. So they would tell her what they saw. Thinking in this way, they gathered in her house and, making her stop her multitude of household chores, had her listen to the activities of her child, giving her joy, on the pretext of scolding her. Jiva Goswami writes, the women, attracted to his pastimes, consulted each other, came to Yashoda for tasting prema themselves, and to give Yashoda that taste, prema taste, and spoke to her in a joking mood. The women of the village and elder women, attractive with prema of Krishna, they were carrying prema. That prema that they were carrying was attractive. Seeing Krishna's fickleness made Yashoda listen with attention. They made her listen and hear constantly. Coming together, they spoke clearly to her, but not with truth. Coming from their mouths, the description of Krishna's fickleness became most attractive. Shukadev also speaks through their words. In other words, Shukadev was appreciating Krishna's childhood pastimes also. So he was enjoying speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. And there's different places where he also comments that he knows that Parikshit is appreciating also the sweetness of Krishna's childhood pastimes. Here's Vishwanath Chakravarti's commentary. And this is exactly the same. So now I'm going to go to chapter 65. There's commentary in chapter 65. Where this chapter 65 is Balaram goes to Vrindavan because he knows that the residents of Vrindavan are feeling great separation from Krishna in Mathura, and he wants them to feel pacified. So he goes to Vrindavan and spends a month in various ways trying to pacify them because he knows their mood. And when he's there, various persons he meets with, but there's a group of gopis. And the point is, that's being made here is the gopis that's with Krishna, that's with Balaram, not the same as the same set of gopis that were with Krishna. You with me? Then, so the commentary is going to say, when the word gopi is used, it sometimes can mean the elder gopis also, as in this childhood pastimes. It's the elder gopis, not the same age as Krishna gopis. The word gopi does not always mean Krishna's consorts, and gives examples, starting with chapter 1 of the 10th canto, which says, the gopi wives of the cowherd men were very pleased to hear that Mother Yashoda had given birth to a son. And then in chapter 6 of Canto 10, the gopis immediately came forward with great jubilation and picked Krishna up. That's after the Shakatasura. The elder gopis came. It's the elder gopis. Or Yashoda's friends, the other gopis, approached Mother Yashoda, hearing her pitiful crying. So what was she crying about? Krishna was in danger, and so she was crying. So they came, whoa. So all of this is just our Acharya Jiva Goswami explaining, when we hear the word gopi, don't automatically think it's Krishna's consorts. Then chapter 8, text 31. My dear Krishna, Yashoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offense. The gopis speaking. And so on. So here, having long suffered the anxiety of separation, the cowherd men and wives embraced Balaram. So Balaram came back to Braja from Mathura to give his association to the residents of Vrindavan. And the elders, the men and their wives, they embraced Balaram like their son, because he's only 11 years old. They embraced him out of great confusion due to separation. It should not be thought that in the present context, the gopis referred to are Krishna's gopis. And that covers our topic. So just a little stepping back from the picture that's here. Our acharyas have explained that when Krishna performs his pastimes, there's different primary features. Like, for example, certainly very famous in his Braja pastimes are the killing of different demons. And when he's killing different demons, he's showing his opulence, power, mightiness. Even when he's just very small. Or killing Pralambasura, or, Aristasura, Agasura, this Asura, and that Asura. He's showing majesty. And towards the end of this chapter 8, what's going to happen is Krishna is going to show, for the second time, he's going to show Mother Yashoda the universe within his mouth. That's majesty. He's as we just heard, within Krishna is everything, so if within Krishna is everything, the universe is within Krishna. But how can the universe be within a small boy? Because within Krishna is everything. So how big is the universe that's within Krishna? Well, it's the same big universe that's within Krishna because everything is within Krishna. That, time and space work a little differently in the spiritual realm. Here's just a little appreciation. When Prabhupada first took devotees to Vrindavan, they had first-hand experience of how far away the Nandagram is from, like, for example, Kaliyagat. The Kaliyagat is not very far away from the Krishna Balaram Mandir. If you visit in Vrindavan, you go to Krishna Balaram Mandir, you want to go visit Kaliyagat, it's like, 8-10 minute walk. Very close. But Krishna went to Kaliyagat early in the morning, and to go from Kaliyagat, then one of the cowherd boys went all the way back to inform Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda, Krishna's in the coils of the Kaliya serpent, and they came back. Now, just to get in a car and drive all the way to Nandagram from Kaliyagat and back again, it takes a few hours. So how did they get back and forth walking? So the devotees asked Prabhupada, how did they transport themselves? And an answer Prabhupada gave was interesting. He said, sometimes the lotus is open, and sometimes the lotus is closed. And when the lotus is closed, the distance becomes easily traversed. Or how is it that yogis, it's known, some yogis can dip in one place in the Ganges and not like swim underwater for some hours and come up somewhere else, some other place along the Ganges. They just transport themselves quickly. Now, there's not a secret tunnel or something like that. It's time and space work differently when you have mystic powers. There's a description, for example, when the Kumaras wanted to visit Garbhodakshai Vishnu. So they entered the celestial Ganges in the heavenly realm, and they emerged in the lower planetary regions, and their hair was still wet, and their clothes were still wet. The distance between heavenly planets and the lower planetary regions is vast. So many yojanas, so many. So how's that possible? So that moving from, in short, three-dimensional space doesn't apply for persons of higher consciousness. By accessing higher dimensional space, they can move from one point to another point because they know how to do it. We don't know how to do it because our consciousness isn't so elevated. But so within Krishna is everything. There's no, how many dimensions are there within Krishna? Unlimited. So within Krishna is all points. And everything is within Krishna is inside everything at the same time. Which sounds like double talk. He's bigger than the biggest and smaller than the smallest at the same time. That's double talk. He's within everything and outside of everything. Everything is within him and everything is not within him. He can walk and he does not walk. He's very far away and very near as well. All this Upanishadic double talk is reconciled by the fact that everything originates from Krishna and he can extend everything and withdraw everything. Everything is within him. So he can manifest this big universe, or not just a universe, unlimited numbers of universes, and everything is within him. The same thing happened when in the Brahma Vimohan Leela. It's a detail, but it's important detail. Not only Krishna manifested identical forms as the calves and cowherd boys, while the calves and cowherd boys were in the cave, identical forms that were actually Narayan himself. Then he showed the forms of Narayan himself simultaneous with the calves and the cowherd boys. And then all of the potencies of Narayan, and each of those forms were then simultaneously became universes. Not just one universe. I mean, we can't see the extent of one universe. There was many universes, as many as there were calves and cowherd boys. Now, how do you see that? How do you have the sensory perception to see that? Or the ability to manifest it? It doesn't fit. Spatially, it doesn't fit. And you know, you'd hit circuit overload if you were able to see all that. You couldn't see all that. We don't have the capacity. So Krishna gave Brahma the capacity, like he gave Arjuna the capacity to see the universal form, or Mother Jasoda to see the universe within his mouth, which is coming up in this chapter. Show his opulence, or his divinity as Aishvarya, his form as Bhagavan. But the most outstanding feature of the Bhagavan feature is his sweetness, which the residents of Vrindavan had, unlike any other devotees in any other realm outside of Braja. They don't have that same intensity of sweetness or madhurya as found in Braja. So they're shown things. We'll be discussing in our morning class about the same thing from a different sequence of pastimes. But after Nanda Maharaj was kidnapped by the agents of Varuna and taken to Varuna's abode, and Krishna went and rescued him, when everybody came back and Krishna wasn't in their midst, they started asking Nanda, what happened when you went to the abode of Varuna? What was it like? And he described what it was like. Not only the opulence of Varuna, this we were discussing just this morning, and not only the opulence of Varuna, but the Varuna was worshipping him, Krishna. Varuna worshipped Nanda, and Varuna then worshipped Krishna, and all the associates of Varuna worshipped Krishna. And then as they were heading back, the other demigods, they also worshiped Krishna. So like, he's not an ordinary child. The curtain drew back. He's not an ordinary child. Now previously, after the Govardhan Leela, which happened chapter 13, and then, and so forth, 24, 25. So the Govardhan Leela took place. Yeah. Then there afterwards, who is this boy? He lifted the hill for 7 days alone. Who is he? So Nanda repeated what he heard from Gargamuni. Well, he has powers of Narayana. He's our son. He used the plural because they saw him as their son as much as the biological son of Nanda. They saw him as their son too. And their sweetness, their madhurya, their intimacy of love just overwhelmed, and they forgot everything. But now here they go again. We're going to hear in the morning when they want to see the spiritual world. They're in Braja, and they're feeling there's something above Braja. There's the kingdom of God. Because of their sweetness, they don't realize they're in the topmost abode of the kingdom of God. So they're curious, they want to see, so Krishna shows them. He shows them Vaikuntha. And then the curtain closes and they forget everything. by Yogamaya potency. They wanted, Krishna reciprocated, the curtain closes. It's not like they have a memory somewhere that in there that's like he's God. He showed us his kingdom, Vaikuntha. He did that. But the sweetness becomes so predominant it overwhelms. That's the Yogamaya works the other way for us, conditioned souls. Yogamaya has a shadow called Mahamaya. The verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavrata bodhoyam nabhijanati. So the word used by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita is Yogamaya. And the persons he's speaking about are the mudhas. That's not a complimentary term. Fools. Rascals. Prabhupada used. Those who are averse to God, they're covered by his Yogamaya potency, but it's the shadow of the Yogamaya potency known as Mahamaya. So that causes forgetfulness. So we don't know Krishna at all. And they're covered by Yogamaya directly, so they don't know Krishna as God at all. They just know him as their beloved son, friend, lover, darling child. That's all. And even the curtain opens, they forget. Just like, those of us that are covered by Mahamaya. We may get some moments of like spiritual inspiration and say, yes. And then, you're covered again. So by hearing these pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, it's reawakening that which we have forgotten. And by hearing and remembering and speaking and chanting and repeat, and gradually the purification comes that the consciousness of Krishna becomes restored and it becomes our life by sound vibration. Then there's the other kind of sound vibration. That's that's abundant in our modern world through technology. It's all kinds of, not just music vibration, but just sound. It covers the living entity. The Sankhya philosophy explains it without going into Sankhya philosophy. Sound is the first element, and sound covers the living entity in all the layers of covering. And to get uncovered, it's through sound. So make sure you take the Srimad Bhagavatam off the shelf on a regular basis and read it, and even better is recite it, vibrate that sound. But even if you just read to yourself, that's nice too. But vibrate the sound or contact that sound vibration. It's captured sound, and it awakens our dormant Krishna consciousness through 12 cantos. And so we're spending time on the 10th canto somehow. How it started was somebody said, can we discuss the Brahma Vimohan Leela? So that's how it started. And then at the Chicago Temple, they've been going through from Canto 1, and they just happened to be up to Canto 10. So just, the morning classes where they are in the Chicago Temple, and the evening class was Brahma Vimohan Leela, and then we went from that to other things. So any discussion? It can be an off-topic discussion if you like. That's also fine.
Is there any possibility?
Just for online people. That's the microphone for that purpose.
So, is there any possibility, in the current existing world to attain Krishna consciousness.
Of course.
So,
yeah.
And then get into that multi-dimensional travel.
It's not a trick or wishful thinking or hyperbole or something like that. It's a gift that it's being extended to us, and we can receive it in full, or we can receive it in part. But we can receive it in full. And there's a method. Sadhana results in sadhya, results in the goal of that sadhana. And that there's some regulations in terms of practice, but the essence is sound. And to orient our senses so that that sound can be most effective, there's living according to principles of goodness, making wet wood dry wood so it can ignite. And the igniting power is sound. And so it's already something that's within. Just needs to be cleansed and uncovered and brought out. But is it effective? Is it for real that you can do that? The answer is yes.
Why is it that in the old days when Krishna was alive, everybody believed in God, there was proof that there was God. You pray and then God will grant your wishes. But nowadays, there's atheists, there's people who are like, is there God? Is there not God? Is it just something that's made up by people? Like, what happened?
Well, not everybody during Krishna's time accepted Krishna also. I mean, there were not only Kamsa, but there were a lot of people that didn't accept Krishna also. And some were like extreme, they were asuras that came to kill him, and some were just like, covered. Like a very easy example is the washerman, the servant of Kamsa. So when Krishna asked some of the clothes, because they were going to go into Mathura, they wanted to dress properly, he was insulted, and he insulted them. So not everybody during Krishna's time. So there's, in fact, according to Bhagavad Gita, during Krishna's time he spoke Bhagavad Gita, there's always divine demoniac nature since the beginning of time. In the very beginning of time, there's Kaitaba, and Madhu and Kaitaba. They're demons that tried to steal the Vedas from Brahma. So Vishnu had to come and kill them. So it's not exactly as you said it. So what's going on in the present time is it's Kali Yuga, and it's more, there's not big demons, there's just little demons, but lots of them. Because, it's the nature of Kali Yuga. The mode of ignorance becomes more prominent. And then there's, the cycle goes back up to Satya Yuga. And it goes back up because Kalki wipes everybody out. And then the sages descend from the higher dimensional realms and start Satya Yuga again. It's way up there again. So during Krishna's time, it's Dwapara Yuga. But even during Satya Yuga, Madhu and Kaitava and so forth and so on, there's demons. Divine and demoniac nature. Just more pervasive in smaller time people. But they have big weapons. There's a description in the Vedas, by the way, of during one of the Yuga cycles where Buddha appears. He appears in different cycles of the 4 yugas. So in one of those yugas, the Kali Yuga folks were more technologically advanced than presently. So they had craft that could carry them to other places, and they would bomb those other places in the higher realms. So Buddha appeared at that time, in that particular Kali Yuga, and he was attired in a very elegant, opulent clothing, which is very different than the Buddha of our present time. And he taught ahimsa, and he stopped the war. It's in the Vedas. So different Kali Yugas are also a little different. This one is, America and China and Russia competing for who's going to be the most nasty.
Why did Buddha leave India and go to China?
Buddha didn't leave India. Buddhism left India to China. And there's a long story of a Buddhist monk. I mean, the teachings were spread widely, but it kind of, in India, it diminished significantly. For like everything diminishes over time. One of the reasons of its being diminished over time was Shankaracharya by reinstating the Vedas, and so Buddhism became diminished. But its prominence in China has a lot to do with, in the 6th century, I learned this there's a Buddhist monk that went overland. It took him 2.5 years overland to go all the way to where the remaining headquarters of Buddhist teachings existed, somewhere in, somewhere in, gosh, I forget the name of the city. It was like a huge seat of learning, and he went there and he learned Sanskrit. He studied under the Buddhist teacher for some number of years. He traveled another 2 years in India, and then he went back overland into China with all these, 80-something scriptures, Buddhist scriptures. And he had them translated into Chinese and taught them. So it made Buddhism prominent again. It's a long story. I mean, his story is a long story. And it's one of the required readings. I learned this from the devotees in China. There are 4 main texts that everybody that grows up in China reads, and this is one of them. The story of this pilgrim, Buddhist monk, that went to visit the headquarters of Buddhist teachings in India, learned Sanskrit, studied under a master, and then for some number of years, and then planned to go back to China, take those teachings back to his people in China, which he did. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Mother Yashoda, once she see the whole world in Krishna's mouth,
Not just world, universe.
then how come, she will not share with Nanda Maharaj or anybody?
Well, she thought she was seeing things. She said, I better go lie down. Call a doctor. She became covered. She couldn't believe it. She couldn't accept it. Because it's just her child. The parental affection, the motherly affection was too much. It just overwhelmed what she had seen. But Krishna showed. So just stay tuned. We're going to be discussing it in detail. More than just like quickly like that. Yogamaya potency covered her. She couldn't accept it. Although she saw it. Anything?
So we are from, Markandeya Rishi, we want to talk about him. I want to learn little bit about him.
Not tonight. We're on 10th canto, chapter 8 right now.
So it's in the 10th chapter, 10th canto.
Which?
Markandeya Rishi's story.
Markandeya Rishi?
Yeah.
It's not in the 10th canto. Markandeya Rishi in the 10th canto? No.
11th. It's 11th.
But let's just stay on topic.
Yeah.
If that's okay? If you want to hear some, when we visited, there's recordings of our Jagannath Puri Yatra, and his life and the whole experience that he went through is described in detail. And if you like, if you remind me, I'll have somebody find out where that recording is so you can listen to that recording and hear the detail of the story of Markandeya Rishi. Okay? She'll remind me. You'll remind me. Okay.
Guru Maharaj, one question that came up, it's maybe a silly question. Why did Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj did not go to Mathura or Dwaraka to see Krishna? They could have stayed
It's
there
so
for...
close by. Yeah. And for that matter, why didn't Krishna go see them? Because it's so close by.
That I am able to understand, because when he comes here, it will be more painful for the gopis, Brajavasis. So at least mother and father could have...
Well, to add to that, Nanda had to pay annual taxes because he was the king of the cowherds, but the king of the cowherds was under the king of Mathura, and he had to pay taxes because he was overseeing the land that gives grains and dairy products that go to the king of Mathura. So he had to go annually to Mathura and give taxes to the king. Good question. Ask Dinabandhu. Remind me, and I'll send to Dinabandhu, because I don't know the answer.
This question from Vishaka, Atulya Mataji's daughter. Is Maya good or bad?
No, Vishaka is maybe 4 years old. So, Maya is a servant, and servants are good. But the effect of Maya on those who are rebellious towards Krishna looks bad. But she's just doing her service because their attitude towards Krishna is bad. And so she covers them so they can't get near Krishna and do any bad stuff. So but she's good. But the effect of Maya on us is bad because we're bad. That's a 4-year-old answer.
Now this is a question from Radha. It's a little off topic. If someone is forcing you to do something...
She's 9. Okay.
And you are almost on the verge of saying yes, when you do not want to do it, then how do we overcome?
Say no. You turn to your mother and father, or turn to Guru and Krishna and say, please give me the strength to act according to integrity. I know different persons, young persons like yourself and little older teenage persons, who got to the edge, and the brake pedal was, I can't do this. It doesn't match my values. It's not just what mom and dad taught me. It's not my values. It's not what I've understood from my spiritual master. I can't do this. And that was the brake pedal. even it meant, well, the people that want me to do it with them are, they're not going to like me. I'm going to lose friends. The answer is, those aren't your friends that want you to do things that are contrary to core values that you have. A friend would never do that. That's not a friend. Say goodbye to such people. They're not a friend. Go ahead.
Question from Chandana Mataji. Is in Dwapara Yuga, people lived for 1,000 years. Krishna looked like a 15-year-old, although he was 125 years in Kurukshetra. Was that normal given to the 1,000-year lifespan?
Well, towards the end as the yuga progresses, age diminishes, just like Kali Yuga. The age of 100 max diminishes down to 2025. So like that, the age duration diminishes and Krishna appeared towards the end of Dwapara Yuga. So the 1,000, it doesn't apply anymore.
Question from Varsana Mataji. Could you please say again how sound is reason behind how the sound? Could you please say again how the sound is reason, or sound is the reason behind our forgetfulness?
Behind our
forgetfulness. We come out of forgetfulness through sound. That's pretty clear. Thank you.
Okay. Well, to answer your question, I would have to go into Sankhya philosophy, which is really boring. And not necessarily boring, but it's really complicated. Really complicated. But for material creation, there's ether, there's false ego. You know how the elements unfold. Okay, here we go, Sankhya philosophy. I suggest you look at chapter 26 of Canto 3, and there you'll find that sound comes before the other elements. Space or ether comes before sound, and then from sound come the other elements. So before we get entangled, there's space and there's sound within space, or sound within ether. And then from that comes all the other things. The stuff that binds us, along with our dear friend false ego, but it binds us to those things. It starts with sound. The spiritual realm is connected through sound, and the material realm is connected through sound. The connection is through sound within ether. So, but it's you unpack it by going through Sankhya philosophy, chapter 26. Too intricate and detailed to describe right now.
Chaitanya Rasa Prabhu's daughter, Satyabhama's question. Why did we come to the material world from Goloka?
Well, misuse of free will. Raga Dvesha Samutena Dvandva Mohena Bharata. All living beings take birth in this material world overcome by the dualities of desire and hate. We desire the position of being the supreme enjoyer, and he who is the supreme enjoyer, we have dvesha. We're averse to him. We turned our back on Krishna and came to this place of darkness. When you turn your back on light, you see shadow. That's why we're here. In solution, turn your face toward Krishna.
Varsana Mataji's son, Govinda. Won't Krishna be bored sitting in our heart?
Won't Krishna be bored? Well, we give him lots to do. I don't think he's bored. He's maybe like, why are you doing these things? But he's neutral, so he doesn't get bored. He's rather inducing us in different ways to turn our attention to him. So aren't you bored being distracted by material activities and instead of hearing Krishna's sweet voice to come back to him? That's it?
I have one question.
Okay.
When you said the sound is the cause of our descending, and
well, careful. The language has to. It's misuse of free will is the cause of our descending, and sound is the element that builds the network. The spider's web that gets us all caught up in Maya's illusion. It's sound.
And sound is the one that uplifts us, our consciousness.
Spiritual sound.
Spiritual sound.
Yeah.
So, is it something that like for example, how much focus should be given to that sound? For example, there is kirtan going on in the background, but I am not focused on that. I am working, doing something here. Still, that uplifts my consciousness.
Of course. And say, alternatively, if you're doing your work and in the background is the bebop music, and then it's going to affect your consciousness. Okay.
My question regarding the class which you have taken, how to improve the sadhana, right? So my question is like when we are chanting, right? So when we do less round, like it's like there is a more love towards Krishna. Like
when you do what kind of sound?
Chanting, less chant, like rounds or like number of rounds, right?
Quantitative response.
Yeah, quantitative response. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, when it comes to the quantity, it becomes like passion, like just to complete, right?
No,
so
that's you. That's not everybody.
So how I can be, improve my sadhana towards that chanting, like basically the love towards Krishna.
By effort, and by conscious effort. Mechanical chanting will not get you to the goal. But the purpose, one of the purposes of numerical chanting, Sankhya Namaka, this described, but the Goswamis engaged in counting their chanting. They took a vow and they counted. Now, they didn't need to count. They were already on the perfected platform. Nonetheless, to teach us, they did. And so why should we? Because they did. So why did they for the benefit of us? What's good for us to have a numerical value to our chanting if it's not qualitative but just quantitative? Well, it opens the door for purification. It's a little bit like his question. In the background is the kirtan, and I'm not paying attention to it, but it's in the background. Is there benefit? There's benefit. So if you're engaged in quantitative but not yet qualitative chanting, continue anyways because there's purification anyways. But while you're doing that, the very fact that you're asking the question is the beginning stage of moving towards qualitative. It's the yearning. And with yearning, for what? Qualitative. So stay with the quantitative and yearn for the qualitative, not drop the quantitative. Because it's purifying, and we need purification. At least I can quantitatively become purified, then qualitatively become purified by that yearning. And by continuing over time, I don't want to just continue being a quantitative chanter. I want to become a qualitative. That's part of the purification. Okay? Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Guru Maharaj, I was having a question, a practical application question actually.
About what?
Practical application.
Practical application.
Question. So whenever I read scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, I don't read like I read it through my mind. So I don't see there we have a sound vibration. So like, is that okay to read?
That's okay.
It's okay.
This question is from Lingaraja Prabhu's daughter, son, Aditya. Why did Ashwatthama have a jewel on his head?
Why did Ashwatthama have a jewel on his head? I think because his father put it there. And I don't know why, but probably had to do with something auspiciousness or something or other. Brahmins have these ways of, they do things that most people don't know why they're doing them. Probably some kind of auspiciousness. Okay. Anything else? We're done. Yeah.
I was thinking there is this is the only Kali Yuga we have, but you mentioned there are multiple Kali Yugas.
Well, every cycle of the 4 yugas, there's another one.
Can you come again, please?
Can I do what?
Can you
Expand on that explanation?
Mhm.
Well, sure. I mean, I'm not sure what your question is, but in every day of Brahma, there's 1,000 yuga cycles, and there's 14 manus that cover those 1,000 yuga cycles, but each of those yuga cycles has 4 times 1,000 is a day of Brahma. So during one yuga cycle, Satyuga, Treta, Kali. And the duration of Kali Yuga is 432,000. And then 2 of those equals a Dwapara Yuga, that's 864,000. And then add 1 more, that's 3 of the Kali Yugas, that makes 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals what? 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals 10. So the duration of the cycle of 4 yugas is 10 times 432,000, or 4,320,000. That's one complete cycle of 4 yugas, and then it cycles again. Satyuga, Treta, Kali, Satyuga, Treta, Kali.
all these yugas are on earth, right? They are not separate universe.
That's a question that I've never heard a clear answer to. I'm not sure the answer. It's principally involving our earthly plane, earthly realm. Does it influence the higher realms? I've never gotten a clear answer to that. You have something? Okay.
So it's always Brahma or Shiva giving boons to those who meditate on them.
Not meditate, they do austerities.
Yes.
Tapasya.
Right. And then it's always Narayana who takes incarnation to,
To stop the bad people when they
Yes,
get a good
yes.
benediction.
is there any incarnation where Narayana gives the boon and then he takes an incarnation?
No.
So
He knows
why is
better.
it?
He doesn't do that. They don't go to him, they go to the other ones anyways.
Though people, do austerity taking Narayana's name, but Shiva or Brahma will give the boon.
No.
No?
The austerity is done for the deva that they're propitiating. They don't do austerities for Narayan and Brahma comes and gives a boon. No. That was your question. The answer is no. You're looking at me like I got a hole in my head.
I was wondering. I was wondering, like, why always.
I don't have a hole in my head. That those that want, according to Bhagavad Gita, those who want something limited and temporary, they go to the demigods. Those that want something that's not limited and temporary but eternal, they go to Lord Narayan or Vishnu or Krishna. But you want something limited and temporary, you go over there. Now, in the case of Dhruva, he wanted something limited and temporary, and he got something eternal. Because he went to Vishnu. Okay? And it wasn't that, Brahma said, okay, you worship Vishnu very nicely, I'm going to give you something limited and temporary. That doesn't work like that. Okay? You sure?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we're done. Thank you very much. Prabhupada ki jai.